there is a lot of 2-meter traffic, though, John. The 2-meter repeaters. That's the word I'm looking for. There is a lot more traffic, and Mark and they were correct, Steve, that there is more 2-meter traffic than there is UHF traffic. So it's just nice to hear the 2-meter activity and programming the radio and getting a feel for the time delays and everything that we set. It's kind of hard to at least on the receive end of it. If you don't have a lot of people talking, it helps to see how the performance of the radio's doing. QSL?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, 2 meters up here is not very active at all. Well, neither is 440 for that matter. A lot of the activity, I think, has moved over to people's cell phones, and they're just not as keen on the 2-meter stuff as they once were up here. But anyway, I mean, there are a few guys who get on there every now and then, and a few gals, and talking to their wives and whatever. There's a little of that going on, but it's all our generation, not a whole lot of young folks. So anyway, it's still viable, still works. I still have a couple of 2-meter frequencies in my mobile radio that I use to talk to Larry and Kokomo Bob. And I think Larry has an Echolink node on 2 meters. So it's still used around here, but it's certainly not jammed, and it's certainly not busy by any stretch of the imagination. But anyway, it's good that you've got some traffic down there you can listen to, and there's nothing on the UHF line. It's good that there are people driving back and forth and making contact. So, yeah, it's going to be nice having the mobile radio in there, scan, and keep you company while you're going up and down the hill. WA1TDH, K9FB.
Yep, indeed. I must have the mic cord here when I was fiddling with the radio with the Motorola here. I must have bumped the BFO. I guess you just followed me. I noticed we're sitting at 180 now.
Yeah, I followed you up. I knew you moved, so I don't know what you were doing at the time, but I figured you bumped the big knob.
Yeah, I've got, sitting on top of the radio here, I actually have the Daytong box, and, I have the static mic, the 4-pin going into the Daytong, and, with the Daytong off, it mechanically, it takes the radio all the way to the rear, with no processing and no nothing. It's just, so basically it goes from 4-pin to RCA in the back. So you have RCA audio, and then you have RCA PTT, and the cable that Dan made up, adapts easily to that, and, then it goes in RJ45 on the front. Well, the problem is that with the Daytong on top and the static cable coming off the 4-pin, it's right there where the big dial is yourself.
Yeah, that's always a risk. Some of these new Yaesu radios, like the FTDX10, have all the controls clustered really close to the VFO knob. And unless you have tiny little fingers, it's hard to adjust those controls and push those buttons without bumping the knob. The 710 is spaced out a little bit better than that, so at least when you're operating the radio by itself, you're not too inclined to turn things or bump things you're not supposed to. But if you've got another box sitting on top of the radio, you have to adjust it. Certainly, you could bump things. But anyway, it's always a good idea, I guess, just to lock the VFO knob when you start a QSO. That way you're not going to go anywhere.
Now, on the 710, John, on the left-hand side, the first button in the upper left-hand corner locks. Does that lock the frequency?
Well, I'm looking for it here. I think so. If it says lock, that's probably what it does.
Yeah, it does. In fact, it lights up on the display lock. So I'm talking right now, and I'm spinning the knob 360, and so yeah, that problem is solved. Next one.
Yeah, the lock button is the same as the power button. If you just press it quickly, it locks, and if you push and hold it, it turns the radio off or turns the radio on, which is kind of a curious combination, but that's how it works.
Yep, indeed. All right. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. So yeah, so the most of the cables, with the IJ45, the microphone cable is away from all of the knobs on the radio for the most part. So, okie dokie. So, one other quick thing before we sign. On the CSI radios, speaking of knobs and colors, I was able to change there's a blinking LED there for, well, first of all, it's power when you turn it on, and then when you go into scan mode, it blinks when you're in scan mode, and you can change that color of that button to either amber, which is default. I've moved it to green. But I was wondering, I didn't see anywhere where you can change the background lighting on the radio itself, or the lights, or all the buttons on the microphone. Does that, I'm just wondering, does that all stay just one color? John, go ahead.
Honestly, I don't know. I never paid any attention to that. But I think I saw a color picture of one of these that had a green display. It looked like. I'm going to have to go back and see if I can find that again, but maybe it can be changed. I'm not sure. I have to look through the code plug and see what's in there. Of course, my radio now has a new firmware. When I first bought this radio, it wasn't long after it was first introduced. They've added a lot of features into the code plug editor that were not there before, so I really haven't studied this carefully to see what all is new in there, but changing the color of the display may be. And of course mine's different from yours because yours is the Plus model and it has the dual band functionality. So yours is different from mine. But of course I can bring up the code plug you sent me and look at it, so I may do that also, compare them. I know mine does not have all the features that yours has, but it does have a lot more than it used to have.
Well, that's good. And the important thing is it's up to date, and it makes it basically a brand new radio. And I'm guessing, John, these new firmware for the Yaesu here, I think you've downloaded it. I have not. And I'm on that Facebook page group for the 710 users, and it seems like at least once a week, there's someone that has fumbled the football with upgrading the firmware, and can't wake the radio back up. And one guy actually ended up having to send his radio back, and it was over a month before he got it back. So no good deed goes unpunished there. But I don't think the Yaesu customer service is anything like what we're getting from Jerry. Go ahead.
Well, that's true. They're a bigger organization, and Jerry's organization, I think, is just 2 or 3 people. So you call on the phone, you're just as likely to talk to him as anybody else. But, if you read the directions, there are very clear instructions on how to update that firmware of the Yaesu radio. And if you read it carefully and then follow the instructions exactly the way they're written, there won't be a problem at all. But, of course, a lot of people don't ever read the instructions. They just dive in and don't pay any attention to the detail, and then they get themselves into trouble. But I have updated the firmware in mine. It's not to the latest level. It seems like the latest firmware update had some new feature that I didn't need, or corrected some problem that didn't affect me, so I just decided, why do it? I'll wait until there's another update that has something that I'm interested in. There's always the risk when you do that you could break the radio, but again, if you follow the instructions carefully, I didn't have any problem when I did it the first time. Over.
Yeah, in fact, I think we caught on to the firmware based on, we were comparing notes, weren't we? Shortly after you got your radio. See, I got mine first, right? And then you bought one. But yeah, you bought yours after mine, but my firmware had a later version. It had, several bells and whistles, more so than your new one did. So I think you and I are on the same version now, correct?
I believe so, yes. Yeah. Yeah, you had ordered yours, I guess, from Gigaparts, and I ordered mine from DX Engineering, I think. So the stock at DX Engineering must have been, a few weeks older than the stock at Gigaparts. So mine arrived with older firmware in it. But it was not a big deal to update it.
Well, no, I got mine from DX Engineering. You got yours from Ham Radio Outlet, or did you get yours also from DX Engineering?
Well, now that you've asked me, I don't really know for sure. I'd have to go back and look at my records to see where I bought it. But I thought we bought them in different places, but maybe not.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I got mine from DX Engineering because I got a sticker. They gave me a bunch of decals. I went to put one on the refrigerator, and I go, nah, maybe not. So, in any event, that's how I remembered it anyhow. Okie dokie. Well, very good. Yeah, armchair coffee here. I don't know if Jack's been listening in to us, but if he has, we'll say good evening to him as well as to you. And, I think we could carry on like this all night, well into the morning hours, John, but band conditions, I think, just stays like this all night long, probably. It may even stretch out a little longer. I don't know, but this is no QRM. No, it's like an FM circuit here tonight. I'll let you tie the ribbons on. We'll get the equipment shut off and the antennas back onto the dummy load here for the next thunderstorm. And we'll listen up for you later. We're gonna pretty much a rain event here all day tomorrow. 80% chance of thunderstorms all day. So, and I got the grandkids tomorrow. My daughter has schoolwork to gear up towards the first day of school, plus PTA duties. And I think Chris is going out on the base. So tag we're it. another week, school starts up here. Won't have to worry about that. August 1. It's kind of weird for kids to go back to school the 1st of August, but that's what the year-round school system is down here, John. Not sure when Tracy goes back, but in any event, it's getting close. K9FB, WA1TDH.
Yeah, I think she goes back on the 4th, which just seems, I don't know, unbelievable to me. I remember when I was in school, we went back in September sometime, usually the second week of September, I think. And now they moved it up to August, 1st of August. Just amazing. But they're probably trying to push toward a full year school year. And, they're just trying to do it a little at a time. Seems like every year it gets a little earlier, they stay a little later. And eventually, school will let out a day or two before it is ready to go back in session again, I guess. They're hoping nobody will notice. Anyway, okay, very good. I received a picture of the antenna connector on the HT. Looks good. And I went back and looked at my credit card record, and I did buy mine at DX Engineering. But I could have sworn you bought yours somewhere else, but I guess not. It's interesting that yours had later firmware than mine. No, yours got held up somehow or another, as I recall, in the shipping. Something went wrong, and yours was not delivered on the day that you thought it would be, and mine actually arrived, I think, before yours did, even though I ordered after you did. But in any event, they both arrived. That's all that matters, right? WA1TDH, K9FB.
No, you're absolutely correct there, John. It was more than a day. Yeah, I think it may have been 2. It was in the wintertime, right? So I don't know if it was weather or whatnot, but I'm telling you, this CrowdStrike Microsoft antivirus update. I was watching the morning news here. We had a reporter out at the Huntsville airport, and there are probably, I'm thinking there's at least 6 flights starting at 5:30 in the morning. First flight out of Huntsville is Delta to Atlanta, and then American goes to Dallas, and United goes to Houston. So all of Delta and some American, but all of Delta flights since Friday have been delayed or canceled here in Huntsville. They are still not out from underneath the rock. I was watching Lester Holt there on Nightly News, and it's like the #1 story. Delta is. I can't imagine, how this will all fall out with possible lawsuits. But there are people, sitting on the floor, crying. Their vacation is ruined. So Friday. So that happened Friday morning. So it's all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Here it is 4 days later, and Delta can't get a plane in or out of Huntsville to Atlanta yet.
Yeah, that's incredible when you think about how, a mistake made by one person, can shut down the whole world. It literally did on Friday. I guess the problem started in Europe, and then it spread to the U.S. and around the world, and it's just incredible. And I certainly hope that CrowdStrike will take a long, hard look at this and put procedures in place to prevent this from ever happening again. Somebody really messed up. They made a change without somebody checking it. Something didn't get double-checked, triple-checked.